Okay, so hey guys and welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Shigeoka versus Cuarto fight. If you are new around here though and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you're doing the like video, and let's get straight into it. So, Shigeoka going into this fight is 8-0 with 6 KOs, and Cuarto is 21-3-2 with 12 KOs. This fight is for the IBF Interim World Minimum Weight title. Shigeoka's last fight was a no contest versus Valadares, which ended in a headbutt in round 3, I believe, or 4. Cuarto's last fight was a win via KO in round 2 versus Alimento. Cuarto is the former IBF World Minimum Weight Champion. Cuarto's losses have come against Valadares in 2022, losing the belt to him then, Salfa in 2019, and Paklar in 2015. This is in Shigeoka's home country of Japan, of course. Japan boxing doing great things at the moment, coming off a great weekend last weekend with the Taraji Olasquaga card, which was a great card, and of course Yoshino fighting, and of course Inoue getting that big fight soon, and there's other big fighters like Kayaguchi, and I mean of course Inoue's brother now, he's getting involved, and of course Shigeoka now as well. And so the whole kind of Japanese side of boxing is finally getting the kind of respect and, I suppose, eyes on them as they should and they deserve. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what this year has in store for them, because I mean it's only going to get bigger and better, I'm sure of that. So also on this card, to make this card even better as well, is the other Shigeoka, his brother, and he is fighting for the WBC Interim World Minimum Weight title, in which I think Shigeoka will win via TKO in round 4. I haven't wrote down who he's against here, so I can't remember off the top of my head. I probably should have wrote that down. I didn't know, but either way, I think Shigeoka's winning. I think I have heard about his opponent and what they've been going back and forth about, and I just think I really should have wrote his opponent's name down. That his opponent isn't coming in as confident as what Shigeoka is, and I think the dominance is just going to be too much, and I think that this Shigeoka is going to be a tough person to beat, as well as the other Shigeoka as well. And I mean, they're both going to be having interim titles, and so possibly a matchup between them two further along down the line. I don't know if they will do it, but it would be an entertaining matchup. Shigeoka versus Cuarto, let's go back onto that. And then this Shigeoka is a southpaw who's powerful, fast, he has great level changes, he taps jabs to open up, he's a learning fighter, he fights at the mid-range, he's got a good defensive movement, he wants tests, and he has a very good change in tempo. So overall, of course, southpaw can be difficult for a lot of people. Fast, very powerful, of course, the 6 KOs in 8 fights. He, like I said, it changes the tempo well, which is something which I find interesting about him. He'll tap the jab, throw in some good feints in there, and when he does, then he'll then turn it up and then go in, change the levels very well, and yeah, just kind of catch people off guard really. And of course he does have that power, somewhat kind of, I suppose, unexpected power, because when you do look at him, he's a small guy, and I suppose he's got a bit of a stocky build, but not overly, and so I don't think you'd expect him to have loads of power, but he does, and he does have power in both hands. And of course he's a learning fighter as well, who's arguably getting better with every fight. Maybe not the last fight, because of course that was that no contest, but with pretty much every fight at the moment, because of course he is young and he's just coming through really, but he's already getting put in these big title fights, and so yeah, he's just learning with every fight, improving with every fight, and I think the future is quite bright for him. The kind of negatives about him at the moment, I mean of course he's probably going to end up ironing these out at some point, but I mean of course he's not as experienced. He's not the best on the inside. I've seen him get caught quite a lot coming on the inside. He's more of a mid-range fighter. He hasn't gone against somebody overly attacking, and I think Valadares was at that, and the few rounds they did fight, he was struggling a bit, Shigeoka. He was getting caught with some big shots from Valadares, and I think somebody going and attacking Shigeoka might be where he might struggle, because I don't think of course, like I said, he is more of a mid-range fighter, so somebody wanting to close the range is something which I don't think he's going to deal with too well, and he seemingly does panic a little bit, because maybe that's just his inexperience, but he does seem to panic a little bit when somebody does catch him with a big shot and does come up on the inside against him, because I've seen a couple of his fights, and he's fighting opponents at times where he should be kind of easily just being able to deal with him, but he is getting caught with big punches and is occasionally getting shots being let through. And maybe it is just because, of course, he is less experienced, but it's just you don't know if you should really be seeing that happening, especially when you are fighting at such a high level. That is something you definitely got to watch out for. He can get dragged into wars at times. I was watching one of his older fights, when I think it was this is his fourth or fifth fight, and he really got dragged into a war at the end, and it was just something that wasn't really necessary. And yeah, I just don't. Maybe, like I said, it is just down to experience and just not being used to kind of being able to assert his dominance and keep that dominance. But yeah, he just kind of go to stoop to the opponent's level at times. He's got an open guard when coming in, so he can be seen maybe as a bit, and especially a bit reckless at times when does come in. He's moving quickly up the ranks, and so yeah, I mean maybe it's possibly a bit too quickly. He can't always find his range, and of course he is the shorter guy in this fight as well. Not a massive kind of reach advantage or height advantage, but yeah, he does struggle at times to occasionally find range, and it means that, I mean, when he does, he's lethal, but when he doesn't, it means he can kind of lean in, become a bit reckless, have a bit of an open guard, and then get caught when he is coming in or even when he's coming out a bit. But yeah, let's speak about Cuarto. So he has, of course, like I've mentioned, got the slight height and reach advantage. He's more of a counter puncher, and he fights off the back foot, kind of links with that. He's tough, he's accurate, and he kind of gives his all with every fight. You saw that in the Valadares fight. That was a great fight. They really slugged it out, and yeah, Cuarto did really show his all and give his all in that fight. But he is a very good counter puncher, and so it's kind of a powerful puncher versus a counter puncher for this fight. But I think that the counter puncher is something that's going to possibly benefit Shigeoka, because if he can use his defensive movement and can find his range, I think in a more defensive minded opponent is better for Shigeoka, because it means he can have more time to set up his shots and not have to worry about, I suppose, maybe he'll get countered coming in, and that might be something to watch out for. But I think when Shigeoka was fighting Valadares, I think, like I said, he was having problems in them early rounds, and was at times not looking as good because he is facing a more attacking opponent in Valadares. And so, but I think Cuarto's style and the way he fights, I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem, because I don't think a counter puncher will be able to out kind of punch Shigeoka. And yes, that's why I think maybe this leans more to Shigeoka, this fight. But of course, I mean, Cuarto's kind of, I suppose, negatives. He trades, but he does want to fight on the inside. He doesn't mind fighting on the inside, and that's what he did versus Valadares, and that was a big war. And yeah, I mean, he showed that he could fight on the inside. He's very open coming in as well. He's not got the best of coming in guards, and he does invite pressure, and I think Shigeoka might be able to work off that pressure well. And if he does land one of his big shots, then it definitely could be lights out for Cuarto. Of course, Shigeoka is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Shigeoka will win via TKO in round 3. I think with the most of the fights with Shigeoka at the moment, especially, the later the fight gets in the rounds, then it's going to be more negative towards Shigeoka, because I think Shigeoka does his best work in the earlier rounds, and he is a bit of I suppose, a fast starter. And I think he will be able to get a TKO in round 3 with Cuarto, because I do think that as soon as Cuarto kind of feels Shigeoka's power, of course Valadares couldn't get him out of there, but I think Shigeoka has more power, and as soon as he feels that power, then I think he's going to struggle with it. And I think if Shigeoka can be good in them first few rounds and keep composing them first few rounds, and that's going to benefit him, and he's going to be able to use his combinations to get Cuarto out of there. And then, I mean, there's a few options of who he could fight. Of course, Valadares is an option. This should have really realistically been the rematch with Valadares this fight, but of course Shigeoka and Valadares couldn't really come to an agreement. It seems like Valadares might be still injured, but of course they wanted to make it that rematch quite soon after the last fight. Of course, it was only in, I believe, January, and so it's not even that long ago, really. But I do respect Shigeoka for wanting to do that, but I don't know if Valadares might be ducking it or whatever. I don't know if he is, but there's possible rumours that it might be, but Valadares or might just be injured. And so there's a couple other options. Of course, Shigeoka, he was saying that he doesn't really want this to be an interim title shot, and of course wants that world title shot. But I don't know if he's high enough ranked in any of the other rankings. Of course, he is quite high ranked in one of the other boards. I don't know which one. But I don't know if he's going to be the first option with especially other big fights around with Rosa and Neomtron and just other big names about. I don't know if he's going to be able to get into a world title shot without fighting Veladares. And so there's possible opponents of Colazo and Dusmatov, two other possible opponents just because they're highly ranked and they're, I suppose, similar kind of levels in their career wise. And it's just, yeah, I do just think that if Shigeoka is going to get a world title shot currently, I don't think that it would be any other opponent other than Valadares because, like I said, there is other fights going on in the division, and yeah, I just don't see that being able to be. I don't think anybody like Rosa or Naomi Trong or I'm missing somebody else, but I don't know if either of them are going to want to sacrifice their fight to then be like, oh, let's fight Shigeoka instead, because they're not going to be an easier fight unless maybe Shigeoka makes this harder work than he possibly should. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, and of course, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you didn't, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.